Well, for more on this story, I'm joined from Kabul by Thamindri de Silva. She's the National Director of World Vision Afghanistan. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for having me.
So you've been on the front lines of humanitarian work in Afghanistan. Just talk to us about the scale of devastation following this quake, and what are you hearing on the ground from those close to the epicenter?
Sure. I experienced the 2023 earthquake in Herat, and we were able to reach communities fairly quickly. The difference between that and this is the remoteness of the location, because even after almost 36 hours since the earthquakes, we are still struggling to get through. People are still walking on foot, and it's taking up to 3 to 4 hours of walking to get to there, which means that a lot of the assistance hasn't come through. And even though there have been several flights of helicopters, and it's limiting the levels of access and support that can be given to survivors and those who are still trapped within.
And I imagine it's quite hard to get information out from that region. What do you
Yeah.
know about the scale? Like, how many villages and towns were impacted by this quake?
We can't really estimate the number of towns affected, but one of the latest details that I got in the humanitarian country team is that there's almost 587,000 people in that estimated people in the areas affected. So that's quite a significant number that we will then have to sort of verify as the assessments continue.
Wow. And of course, aid agencies like yours have faced, huge funding shortfalls since the Taliban took
Yes.
power. How has that
Yeah.
affected your ability to respond to this crisis?
We are very restricted. World Vision doesn't work directly in the location, but we're working through partners. We've already struggled because we've not only, this is not the first shock that we faced this year. We're undergoing a drought. We're supporting the returnee response. We are still working with the earthquake affected people in Herat, and there's a huge malnutrition crisis in the country. So it's not just the funding shortfalls, it's the compounding of, shock after shock in the country, which is stretching already very thin resources.
And of course, so many international donors are wary about working in Taliban controlled territory.
Exactly.
Can you explain how World
Yeah.
Vision ensures that aid reaches the people who need it, especially vulnerable groups like women and children?
Sure. We prioritize the needs of women and children. We work particularly in health and nutrition, as well as in education and child protection. To ensure that aid is given, we try to verify every single detail and every single sort of number and beneficiary that we work with. And we also try to triangulate data to make sure that we have our own assessments, and we triangulate it with those of the humanitarian architecture, as well as with the de facto authorities. So we try to work with the most vulnerable, and we try to work in the areas that are of most need.
You've worked in complex emergencies before. Just talk to us about what's going to be needed in the next few days as you respond to this crisis.
Sure. What I just heard a few minutes ago is that the greatest need is in terms of body bags. The next thing is going to be some sort of shelter and tents and food. And with the restrictions of access and even movement, I mean, we can't even get vehicles to most of the locations. It's going to be very difficult to get, tents or food or water or any of those items. So it's definitely, we're looking at the basic necessities to make sure that people are able to continue, because many haven't moved away from their locations. Their houses may be damaged, but they're still staying within their area and village. So it's a matter of making sure that we're able to get them supplies to survive. I mean, they would have lost clothing, they would have lost furniture, they would have lost cooking equipment. So it's definitely a lot of, non-food items, a lot of, kits for hygiene, for water, for, especially for women and children. Those are necessities that we need to make sure are met urgently.
So you said about 500,000 people are in that affected area of the quake
Yes.
zone.
Yeah.
If there are
Yeah.
international donors or leaders or just viewers that want to donate, what can you tell them about donating, especially if they have concerns about their donation getting to those who actually need it?
Sure. There are established mechanisms in the country. You have the UN present. You have agencies like World Vision and others who have very strong checks and balances and making sure that we may move it through. We do a severe vetting of our local partners to make sure that they are able to deliver. there are ways and means possible, and so we would encourage donors to give, because this is a need. This is a need in a country that has faced so many shocks, even in the last year.
Yeah. Thamindri de Silva, we appreciate all the work you and the team at World Vision are doing in Kabul. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda.